Hey guys, it's James here. By the time this video is out, it'll be February of 2023. The storm season of 2022 concluded a few months ago, so that can only mean one thing. Hey y'all, thanks for joining me for another storm season recap. I'm really excited to look back on the year, so let's get right into it. After our last major snow event during the winter in February, we had a solid uptick in warm temperatures in early March that brought severe weather back to the Midwest and Great Lakes region in the form of a tornado outbreak in Iowa on March 5th, 2022, with the most intense tornado being the Winterset, Iowa EF4, which tracked for 70 miles. After the tornado portion of the event was over, the storms merged into a squall line overnight into the early morning hours of March 6th, that then proceeded to race east at 70 to 80 miles an hour with damaging winds accompanying it.
The National Weather Service in northern Indiana has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for Putnam County, southeastern Henry County, eastern Van Wert County, Allen County, Ohio. Severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Hallgate to 7 miles northeast of Salina, moving east at 80 miles an hour.
I drove 10 minutes from my house to a parking lot with lights for some visibility for the winds and let the line pass over.
Storms approaching from the west, moving at 80 miles an hour.
Note that I did not have my current 4K Sony camera at the time due to the car accident last year, so this was filmed on an older, more shaky camera.
Debris.
March 6 squall line was a great warm welcome to the spring season of 2022 and was surely a sign of things to come. It wasn't too far after that we had yet another severe weather setup in March on March 23rd, 2022.
Today is Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. We have a local conditional tornado risk, 5% in a little bit of corner northwest Ohio, north central Ohio, and southern Ohio. Planning on trying to play the triple point today, see if I can get any isolated storms riding along it, produce a tornado. Pretty much just a warm-up day, but you know, why not? Got nothing better to do, might as well just go out, see what I can get.
March 23rd was the first real chase of the year, with multiple chasers out looking for storms this day due to the tornado potential listed by the Storm Prediction Center. I left the house in the afternoon as storms started to develop in eastern Indiana with a rather discreet nature to them. They quickly began to rotate and mature into supercells, so I met up with the targeted supercell near Decatur, Indiana, and watched the storm advance northeast. due to lacking moisture, we weren't able to get supercellular tornadoes this day, and any tornado that did form came in the form of an embedded circulation inside of the line. Regardless of zero tornadoes this day for me, I was just really happy to feel warm southeasterly winds and chase a full-blown supercell within an hour of my house in March. After March 23rd, the next severe weather setup wouldn't be till April 12th, and this is where we kick things into high gear. On April 12th, I was joined by my good buddy Norman Smith for a long storm chase in the great state of Iowa. The Storm Prediction Center highlighted a moderate risk for the northern to northwest corner of the state, indicating the potential for significant severe weather, including strong tornadoes. A surface low creeped northeast, bringing strong warm air advection and ample dew points just south of the warm front draped west-east across Iowa. We were challenged by a classic springtime severe weather setup known as a triple point, where storms that go up by the surface low tend to become supercellular, as well as very tornadic when faced with warm front interaction. We targeted Sac City, Iowa, as we awaited storm development in the late afternoon hours while conditions kept improving. Immediately, a storm went off like a bomb just south of us and quickly advanced towards our position, so we stayed ahead of it and relocated. Something to keep in mind about this day was a stable layer on the surface that caused storms to struggle to mature and potentially hindered any kind of tornado genesis. But let me tell you, this storm simply did not care.
Well, turn your wipers on a little bit. Like, fuck, you're proceeding to a route. If it roots, it will. It would do it for you.
Can you get the stream back up?
Probably not, because this is dead zone territory.
See the ZDR on this thing really quick.
Probably nice. Yeah, it went surface based.
Wow. Okay, we are near, where are we at? Like
East of Pomeroy.
east of Pomeroy, Iowa. We got a supercell trying to drill through the surface layer, like surface stable layer. If they can do that, it's going to produce a big time tornado here. Major lightning, just a barrage of lightning right now. Yeah, this definitely has my interest.
You think? Oh my god, that new skin on velocity. Or on the reflectivity. Oh! Good job. That is intense.
I don't think I've ever felt inflow like that.
Yeah, no, it literally took off my glasses.
Listen to that.
I'm gonna call 911.
No. It's gonna be called in.
In about an hour and a half, the storm went from an elevated mess to a massive tornado-producing beast, producing a significant EF2 tornado with 135-mile-an-hour winds near Palmer, Iowa for almost 20 minutes. And that wasn't even the last significant tornado it produced. It is the best tornado I have seen to date. On the way back home the next day, we decided to chase the second moderate risk forecasted. This time, it was down in the Ohio Valley region near Mayfield, Kentucky.
Today is Wednesday, April 13th. We are in Springfield, Illinois right now. Norman's setting up his gear for day 2 of tornado chasing. And we have a moderate 15 hatched just to our south by a couple hours. And we're going to get into position today.
Tornado outbreak was forecasted this day, but because of rapid upscale growth and cell mergers, we only had a tornado-warned squall line moving at highway speeds.
Okay, let's go. Now we're about to get swallowed. This thing. Be careful your tire doesn't go off the side of the road. All those winds ahead of us are no joke. Yeah. Oh, we're about to get hit by them. Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. Whoa, tree debris. Oh, trees, please stay up. Oh. Oh, yeah, big limb down. Uh-oh. We need to get out. Well, we're gonna have to.
There was not a whole lot to come out of this day, but a nice chase on the way back home with damaging winds, tree limbs hitting the vehicle, and some structure. A quiet period followed for the rest of April where I was able to get much needed rest after a long 2-day sequence of long distance chasing. But now we get to everyone's favorite month, May. We jumped right back into severe weather on May 3rd with a slight risk of severe weather in Ohio due to damaging wind and tornado potential being forecasted by the Storm Prediction Center. I wanted to stick north by the low pressure and triple point on this day, but others convinced me to go south near I-70 where the Storm Prediction Center thought tornado potential was maximized. You'll see later why I didn't want to do this. Storms quickly initiated in southwest Ohio with a rather discreet nature at first, but then quickly started to crash into each other, causing destructive mergers. Throughout the day, I intercepted multiple storms, one of which had damaging wind gusts from 70 to even 80 miles per hour at times. fun was soon over after I checked radar to see an approaching bow echo up north at my house while I was 2 hours away, and it got worse when I checked again and saw it went tornado warned. This really frustrated me, as one of my worst nightmares is to miss a tornado near my house, and that soon came true after the National Weather Service did a survey and found evidence of an EF0 tornado that tracked 7 miles northeast of Bluffton. It really hurt, but that's the price you pay with this hobby. While it was a great first setup for May, it got quite dry in the middle of the month, but that didn't stop me from venturing outside for something else. Dust devils. From May 12th to May 14th, I saw at least 40 to 50 dust devils due to extremely ripe conditions at the surface and aloft. Dust devils have always fascinated me due to the ability of watching vortex dynamics up close. I even had the opportunity to intercept a large multi-vortex dust devil as it morphed through all sorts of shapes and sizes, from a large multi-vortex to a tall drill bit hundreds of feet in the air.
Wow. How high that's going.
On the last day of dust devil chasing before the sequence was over, we also had a small marginal risk for severe weather across the state. I was able to get multiple dust devils, a hail intercept, and structure to finish off the day. With May well underway, severe weather started taking off in the region again, and I was out frequently chasing as much as I could. We had a few nighttime lightning opportunities which went quite well, but the next real setup kicked off May 21st. May 21st was a day that caught a lot of attention for me. A large squall line was forecasted to develop in eastern Indiana and mature significantly over Ohio with widespread damaging winds and hail. That is exactly what happened this day. Now, while I struggled to stay ahead of it at times, I finally broke free of the line east of Beaver Dam, Ohio on US 30 East. As a result of some areas around me not getting any rain, this line was able to kick up loads of dust along the gust front as severe winds pushed out ahead. It really gave me flashbacks to May 10th, 2020, but not nearly as extreme. As I kept going east, I decided to take a north road and let the line run me over near Chatfield, Ohio, where a surprise QLCS tornado spun up to my north. While unsurveyed, there's lots of features here that lead me to believe it was tornadic, so I'd say I got another one on the count that day.
That might be a QLCS tornado. Lots of rotation in that base. I think that's a tornado. There's left to right motion.
4 days later, on May 25th, we had a potential tornado set up in northern Indiana due to strong low-level turning of the winds, along with a solid unstable air mass overspreading the target. But honestly, there's not much to say about this day, as it was probably the biggest bust I chased all year. Poor mid-level lapse rates, along with warming aloft, caused any updraft trying to mature to quickly collapse, causing this day to be a huge failure. On the way home, I was able to get some real storms in the late evening to overnight hours, so at least there was something to come out of this day. Moving out of May, we hit peak severe season in the Great Lakes region in June. Storms took off immediately within the first week, and I was able to get a small microburst and great structure on a rather marginal day on June 6th.
Oh, here it comes.
While things looked rather dim for early June, 2 days after June 6th, on the 8th, chasers across the region were alarmed when a surprise tornado setup looked likely due to a mesoscale convective vortex passing through central Indiana. So I left the house as soon as I could and raced south towards southwest Ohio for a chance of tornadoes. I convoyed with Norman on this day, and we inched into Indiana as supercells went up immediately east of Indianapolis. While the warm front lifted north associated with the system, a cell charged east and latched right onto it near Arlington, Indiana, and quickly went tornado warned. Soon after it went tornado warned, a tornado debris signature was evident on radar, suggesting a damaging tornado in progress. And from several miles away, I was able to watch the tornado while trying to get closer, but a cell to the south of the tornado-producing storm shrouded it in rain as I got closer.
Yep, that's it. I think that's it. Yep, that's a tornado.
The day was far from over, and supercells were all over the place, causing confusion on which one to target. I started to head back into Ohio as storms looked to mature over there, and this is where the worst pain of the year comes in. A supercell located near Arcanum went tornadic and started producing tornadoes while I was an hour away trying to go back into the state. The most notable tornado of the day touched down just outside of Tip City, Ohio, where it produced EF2 damage on a Myers distribution center. It was a very photogenic tornado and it really hurt to miss it. I eventually caught up with the cell south of Springfield, Ohio, where it was in the process of occluding after producing an EF1 outside of Springfield. As the storm took its last dying breath, the chase was over for me. While I scored one tornado, it really hurt to miss a very photogenic tornado in my home state. The next chase day took place on June 12th, and I didn't even plan to chase this day. Northwest flow began to overspread the Great Lakes region, which normally is what helps peak our severe weather, and because of that, storms were in the forecast on June 12th. I went south where storms in the form of mini supercells looked to be occurring and was able to position myself for several of these storms. These storms frequently produced wall clouds with subtle rotation, but no tornado occurred out of any storm. The best storm of the day was near Russia, Ohio, where a full-blown legit supercell was occurring right ahead of a bow echo with a weird inflow tail feature seen here. I found Tyler Berry and started convoying with him for a short period of time while this storm tried to produce a tornado at least several times. It failed to produce due to the storm becoming outflow dominant, but it was sure a nice looking supercell to chase. To end the day off, I got a backlit sunset low precipitation supercell on my way home. With northwest flow being well underway and days continuing to get hotter and hotter, a large moist and unstable air mass was present while being overlapped by the northwest flow. When this happens, it sets up perfect conditions for an event known as a derecho, and that's exactly what happened the next day on June 13th. I woke up the morning of June 13th with surface temps in the mid-80s and dew points in the mid to upper 60s. It truly felt disgusting outside, but that was only a warning for how nasty things could get later that evening into the overnight hours. Later in the day, just before the derecho took shape, the Storm Prediction Center bumped up our enhanced risk to a moderate risk, as it looked fairly confident that the Great Lakes region was under the gun for a massive derecho event overnight. The storms that later became our derecho first formed in Wisconsin and hauled southeast into southern Michigan, where storms exploded and congealed into a monster line. I went north as derecho started to envelop the northwest corner of Ohio, where lightning gave me small peeks of the beast in the dark. I was overrun by the northern part of the line. I checked radar to see an extremely strong portion of the line near Fort Wayne, so I dropped south to get in front of it. As I was closing in, it gave me the most frequent lightning show I've ever seen for a solid 5 to 10 minutes before I was overrun.
Oh man. Here we go.
Now being behind the line, I waited for rain to clear so I could get out and take lightning stills as well as video. The thing that's so amazing about this day is that we were run over by 4 separate MCS after dark. It was truly a dream lightning opportunity and one of my favorite days of the year. While June 13th was an amazing night of severe weather and lightning, the damage had already been done across the state. Severe tree damage, structure damage, and power outages were present the next day, which was very problematic because the dangerously hot weather was far from over. The derecho had a top verified wind gust near Fort Wayne, Indiana of 98 miles per hour, which topped the infamous 2012 derecho by 7 miles per hour. With the event over and cleanup underway, it was truly a night of great storms. The derecho event on June 13th happened to be our last big June event of the year, due to a quiet period setting in for the rest of the month. June 13th was a great way to end the month and move on to the next month, which happens to be my favorite month of the year, July. From my experience, July tends to do some crazy things sometimes, with small low-risk days coming out with some of the best storms of the year. That's exactly what happened the first week of July. Immediately, we had a storm chase knocking on the door on July 5th across eastern Indiana and northwest Ohio. July 5th was not a sure bet during the early portion of the day as morning convection overturned the instability in the target area, as well as laying down a large area of stable air. Soon after 6 p.m., the target recovered due to large amounts of sunlight eroding the stability and diurnal heating rebuilding a lot of the instability. Cape values soared from 3,000 to 6,000 joules per kilogram after peak recovery was reached, and storms exploded in northern Indiana, charging southeast towards Fort Wayne, Indiana. As I got closer and closer, I got a view of a massive high precipitation supercell just outside of Fort Wayne near the interstate, which I then hopped onto so I could stay ahead of the storm. After I cleared the city and reached farmland near the Ohio border, I was able to pull over for a short time and take some stills along with video of the massive beast of the storm just to my north. While I was pulled over, I noticed a feature on the left side of the storm that showed signs of rotation and a possible QLCS tornado attempt. While attempting to escape to the southeast, the rotation passed directly overhead, and things went from 0 to 100 really quick.
Oh! Run under circulation.
After all the chaos earlier, I made it back into Ohio just in time for a spectacular nighttime lightning show.
What happens when you feed a storm 6,000 cape?
July was in full throttle with chase after chase, and I was quite happy to be back into it. I found myself in Michigan on my next chase, with a super conditional tornado threat by Lake Michigan on July 11th. A strong belt of northwest flow was located over the Great Lakes region, with an ever so subtle shortwave embedded in the northwest flow. The conditional factor on this day was the lack of forcing and warm temperatures aloft. The lack of forcing could hinder storm development for the entire day, while warm temperatures aloft could hinder updraft maturity. We managed to get just enough forcing for a storm to develop in southeast Wisconsin and cruise over Lake Michigan, becoming supercellular. While the storm was crossing Lake Michigan, it lost a lot of surface heating and became elevated for the time being, so I had growing concern for the storm possibly dying before it reached the land again. I waited on the other side of the lake near Three Rivers, Michigan, for the storm to reach land again, and it did in the late evening hours. It rapidly intensified while routing, becoming surface-based, and developed a large wall cloud as time progressed, exhibiting gorgeous low precipitation structure. The storm reached its peak right over town, and I started to wonder if I was actually getting a tornado.
It's happening right in front of me.
But due to the warm nose aloft, the storm failed to produce and died after leaving town. Nonetheless, it was a great chase for a super conditional day. During July, we also get a lot of pop-up storms while waiting for real severe weather setups to unfold. I try to go out and document them, as they can be really beautiful at times. In the middle of July, when the pop-ups died down for a little bit, big league storms were in the forecast on July 20th as a very surprising belt of southwest flow advanced into the region with a very large warm sector. Low-level clouds were hauling along with great warm air advection as the excitement grew. Great Lakes chasers were on alert as the setup looked to have great supercell and tornado potential as long as a few things were in place. A cold front was slowly sagging southeast with a very hot, moist, and unstable air mass ahead of it. While we lacked forcing ahead of the front due to no shortwaves embedded in the trough, the cold front was slow enough to contribute to areas of subtle forcing, allowing for a more isolated nature of storms instead of a linear mode. Just like July 11th, a warm nose was present aloft, limiting storm maturity, but this worked in our favor as well due to the warm air aloft limiting weaker updrafts from merging with other storms. The chase was on, and everyone was out targeting the same storms, with the first one of interest near Bradner, Ohio. The storm struggled to root at first, but it rooted eventually and had a solid base for a short while, but quickly died. Chasers were in shambles on what to do, but the decision was quickly made as the cold front approached and provided just enough forcing for more supercells to take shape. I was behind on the chase, so I was caught in the forward flank with severe winds, but was able to make it out in time before the storm reached its peak. Supercells were exploding east of the cold front, and one went dominant near Crestline, Ohio, becoming tornado-worn as the current storm died, so I punched the forward flank of the previous storm as I blasted east. The storm had a beautiful base with a nice wall cloud while pumping out a major CG barrage. I also had my buddy Ty Stevens behind me preparing for a possible tornado intercept. Sirens were blaring in town, but the storm failed to produce a tornado, and it was heading into bad terrain, so we called it there and had a dinner at Texas Roadhouse in Mansfield, Ohio. As tradition, when Ty and I meet up and chase, we almost always catch a jaw-dropping sunset together, so I went outside to check and see what we were working with. My mind was blown by what I saw. We left our dinner early to catch the Sunset Mamata show before it was over and found some spots to pull over for some shots of the amazing sight.
Oh boy, everything's starting to go.
Yeah, I might stay here for a little longer. I don't have to go home at any time.
No, I'm gonna get home. Caught that.
After sunset, the storms lined out and started going nuts with lightning with clear air skies above it, which gave us a rare opportunity for some starry night lightning photography. Truly an amazing chase day despite no tornadoes. It had been a month since I got a big MCS at this point in time, so I was kinda hoping for another one, and my wish was granted the morning of July 23rd. I had stayed up all night the previous day watching models very closely due to the convective allowing models printing a large MCS over Indiana and Ohio between 6 to 9 in the morning, and that came to fruition as one took shape in eastern Illinois. I met up with Tyler Berry that morning, and we charged south to a reservoir with a great view of a heavenly shelf cloud with a severe thunderstorm warning for 70-mile-per-hour winds. The storm was structured with incredible striations due to a large amount of stable air over the area, but this storm took full advantage of it and showed off tremendously.
My God!
After the storm took over, I tried my best to get ahead of it, but wasn't able to due to the fast motions. Either way, it was truly a spectacular morning.
Christ, man.
The day after, on the 24th of July, the last setup of the month would commence in Indiana and Ohio. But before the real chase, I had a freak MCS come down from Michigan with loads of lightning early in the morning hours. It was a great surprise and lovely for still photography. The real chase was on later that day, but unfortunately, not much happened this day aside from garden variety thunderstorms at sunset due to morning convection early in the day, bringing stability and subsidence in the atmosphere. Either way, it was nice to get some lightning on video rather than nothing at all to bring July to a close. August is usually the last month of frequent storms, so I tend to try and make the most out of it. We had several days of storms, but nothing super notable worth making a whole video for, so I'll make a small montage with them here.
Cloud right there. Look at how it's moving. Close. It is really cool.
I missed that.
I even tried to go to Lake Erie several times for water spouts, but came back empty-handed each time. August did, however, have one last big day before it ended, on August 29th. On the 29th, the forecast showed a large MCS rushing through Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio through the mid to late evening hours, so I went west to attempt to reach the MCS at its peak in Indiana. It weakened earlier than expected, but still had some severe winds within the line. I positioned north of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and let the line take over as it was moving very fast. Shortly after it was overhead, strong to severe wind gusts unfolded.
Stay up, trees, please.
Power outages and tree damage was being reported as I raced back east into Ohio to try and breach the line again. I was able to clear it over Ada, Ohio, and the structure of the storm had improved over time as the storm was weakening. Throughout the last moments of the squall's life, I found multiple spots to view this incredible shelf cloud for video and stills before the day was over. It was a great way to end August.
Large shelf cloud right in front of me.
Things looked dim for one last real chase of the year in September as fall had set in. But that all changed on September 11th when a surface low started creeping towards Ohio that afternoon. Surface lows with robust low-level instability, also known as 3 Cape, really get me interested because with high 3 Cape and turning of the winds due to the surface low, you can get vorticity to stretch into a tornado as long as you have a sustained updraft to work with. I went out towards Van Wert, Ohio, where there were some isolated cells moving northeast with rotation. High 3 Cape will tend to make isolated storms do weird things, as seen here, which I firmly believe were a couple attempts at tornado genesis. The real deal of the day was further south in the form of a QLCS with embedded areas of rotation. My first glance of the storm was an incredibly photogenic shelf cloud with a high precipitation nature to it. Also on the right side of the storm, you can see one of many circulations this line had, which eventually became the main one. kept up with this storm for a good hour or two before it weakened with eastward extent, so I called it there and went home to celebrate the last chase of the year, which became a top 5 day of 2022. While September 11th was the last chase of the year, I had one last storm day during the early morning of September 19th, when an unexpected cluster of thunderstorms popped up to my west. I drove about 10 minutes out to a spot nearby to get some lightning stills, and one of the shots I got blew my mind. This photo is officially the most lightning chains I've ever been able to get on camera. With a 4-second exposure, I got up to 7 chains of cloud-to-ground lightning on camera. I was blown away by the luck. After September 19th, colder air started to set in, marking the end of storm season 2022. It was truly a great year for me with chasing. In 2022, I got 3 tornadoes, one being in Iowa, another in Ohio, and the last one of the year in Indiana. This year came with challenges and pain at times due to missing out on some incredible storms and tornadoes, but that's just the risk you face in this hobby, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm thankful to be able to share these experiences with my great chaser friends of Severe Weather, Ohio, and many others. With spring on the way in less than a month, the chaos can unfold again, and I'm sure I'll see some of you guys out there chasing the breathtaking sights that Mother Nature has to offer us. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this in the future. And remember, never stop chasing.